Well, good morning, everybody. We are live across all our socials and on the ROS Media platform as well. Grateful to have you with us. Ian, great to have you back. I know it seems like a play on words, but I feel that this particular webinar preview that we're going to be doing for this coming Saturday on the 25th is a real game changer. And we'll get into why I say that in a moment. But really, I want to just sort of preface this by speaking to all of you out there who are watching this. Maybe you are looking at a stack of bills that never seems to get any smaller. Maybe you're working harder than ever, but the cost of living is just eating away at your future. Now, you've said many, many times, Ian, that this is not some economic accident. You know, it's a game of Monopoly, as we call it, where people are playing it at beginner level. They're playing as a pauper, essentially. And what we're going to be revealing on today's preview for the webinar on Saturday is how to stop playing that game in that way and how to start playing it at pro level. That is what we're talking about. But before we kind of dig into that, what I want to do is, as we always do, is just very briefly at a high level talk about the underlying problem. Why are people in this situation, Ian?
Well, I think it's the cost of living crisis, as we've talked about before. And, you know, I was listening yesterday to some alternative media interviews. Energy prices are going up. Mortgage rates are going up. You know, the interest levels are going up. Everything's going up. And, you know, people's revenues, their cash flows coming in aren't necessarily going up in line with what's going out. And you know the gap between what's coming in and what's going out is narrowing and narrowing. And for some people, they're in a deficit. They've got less coming in than going out. Yeah. And I think that's by design. Those that run the planet, they want to make it difficult because then they can bring in their solutions, and their solutions, of course, will give them more and more control. And that's the problem. It's there's an erosion of freedom gradually, step by step, towards ultimate control. That's the underlying problem. I don't like it. I think our members don't like it. And if you're seeking freedom from a control agenda, which is all mapped out, if you care to look into it, UN Agenda 2030, it maps it out pretty well what their plans are. For the 15-minute cities, for surveillance of everything, for digital money, the digital concentration camp, the track and trace of everything. You can only, you only better use your bank card if you're permitted to by those that run the control agenda. That's not a world that I want to live in. I want free will. I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And I don't want anybody else infringing on those freedoms, and they're gradually being eroded away. Right now, there's massive level of distraction, as they always distract everybody with wars. You've got the war in Ukraine, which has been going on for a while. Maybe Europe will come into that. That's what all the talking heads are talking about at the moment. Maybe Europe's going to get involved with the conflict with Russia, and then you've got Iran and the US, and is China going to come in? Is the Russia and China going to be up against America? And it's all theatre to take our attention away from what's really going on, which is they're bringing in digital control of the money system, what I call the digital concentration camp, and that's what they're bringing in and making it difficult to play the game of Monopoly, making it more and more difficult to play the game. That means that they will have more and more people signing up for the solutions, which they will bring just at the right time to bail everybody out of these problems. And those solutions will without any doubt at all, bring more control. You can only access the solutions if you give away more control to those that run the monopoly board. And that's basically the agenda in a nutshell.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure if people were given the choice, if they had an alternative solution, they might want to look at what that is as opposed to the cabal's solution to a self-created problem. So let's talk a little about that because we always say there's a problem, and that underneath that problem there is always a solution as well. So when it comes to what our flagship solution is, you've introduced what we are calling the monopoly game changer. That is what this has been headlined as. This is a combination of three of our protocols. And without me going into too much detail, it combines the envoy, the asset, and the currency creation protocol. For many people who are, busy, stressed out, don't have an awful lot of time. This may sound very technical, may sound too difficult for them to put into play, but you say this is actually incredibly simple. This is simplicity in action when it comes to people understanding how to flip the switch on their identity. Very briefly, Ian, obviously without giving too much away for the webinar on Saturday, how do these three tools work together to protect people?
Well, I'm gonna just frame it as simply as I possibly can. If you're working at a job or running a business or buying and selling things to make a living, however you're making your cash flows, that requires new economic activity. You've got to go to work. You've got to run your business. You've got to go and buy and sell more things if that's what you're doing. You probably aren't getting royalties where you can sit back and live on the royalties from from some music or something you've published in the past. Maybe you are, but the majority of people are having to do something every week, every month, every day to economic activity, I'd call it, to bring revenues into their family budget. That's what most people are doing. That's how the monopoly board works. You have to go out there and do things to receive back from the monopoly board a wage, a profit, a cash flow of some sort. But I want you all to imagine what would it look like? How would it feel if you could recoup your signature credit from years gone by? So think of all of that economic activity you've already put on the monopoly board. You've had a job for a long period of time. You've run a business for a long period of time. You've had, you've been, whatever it is you've been doing since the age of 18 has transferred your energy onto the monopoly board, because that's what the currency system is all about. It's all about a transference of human energy onto the board. Let's suppose that you could recoup that signature credit energy, that energy you've put on the board already from the age of 18, and then you could use that as your budget. You could spend it and recoup it back, and you could spend it again and then recoup it back. So now you wouldn't need to go out and work your fingers to the bone at the job, or stress about your business, or go and buy and sell stuff, whatever you're doing to get a revenue stream. So the secret of the signature is what really this webinar is about. It's how does your signature create the currency that goes onto the monopoly board that you then abandon because you don't know you can reclaim it, recoup it. And I'm going to show you what you can do to completely transform your experience that you're having. At the moment, it could be stressful. Making ends meet could be difficult. There's no end in sight. It looks like it's getting worse. And what I'm saying to you is you've probably got hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of signature credit that you've abandoned. You've left it on the monopoly board. And I'm going to be showing you how you can recoup that. Not in a way that is all based on a theory, but based on a proven methodology called the Clifford Protocol. And in order for you to do that, there's a few components that you need to put together. We facilitate three components: an envoy protocol, an asset fortress protocol, and a currency creation protocol. We bundle those into a program. We make it as simple as possible for you to onboard that and to enroll in that program. And that should transform your game of Monopoly, which when you come on the webinar, you'll hear me explain why I say it's a game of Monopoly and how that game of Monopoly works.
I mean, to go back to the age of 18, for most people who have been playing this Monopoly game wrong, for, you know, who are maybe in their late 30s, 40s, early 50s, whatever, that's an awful lot of abandoned signature credit. Like you said, it could run into the millions. So when we say this is a game changer, that is exactly what we mean. We're not talking about just going back for a couple of 3 years here. We're talking about going back to the age of majority, which for most people will be 18, possibly 21. But that's a huge amount of effort and work and labor that people have put in to that Monopoly board and never understood or seen the benefits of being able to recoup that. So I'm super excited for people to see this, Ian. What I'm even more excited about, and I think the most life-changing part about this for people, is the announcement of a zero up front. So the doorway into this as well, for many people, if they're struggling financially, they see the solution, they get it, it's right there in front of their eyes, but they genuinely don't have the financial wherewithal or means to be able to move forwards. So can you just talk to me a little bit about, you know, people who are in that type of crisis situation, who don't have the ability financially to move forwards? How does the webinar reward scheme allow people to be able to earn their way into a solution for themselves just by helping others?
Well, I recognize that, you know, if you want to enroll in this game-changing protocol, the Monopoly Game Changer, with those three components, you know, you may not have the spare, the spare funds to be able to do that now. You may be thinking, well, it's amazing, I'd love to do it, but I just can't find that that donation that ROS wants to get me enrolled in this program. So what I've done is I've launched a webinar reward scheme. So every Saturday I do a new webinar. I tackle a problem, I break it down, I show people how to solve it, and there's many problems out there, and every one of them's got a solution. And if you want to know more about our webinars, we've got a webinar website which has got all of the past webinars on it for the last 6 months or so. So you get an idea of the sort of things that I talk about, like voiding your mortgage or mortgage foreclosure, or tax bills, or liberating your pension, or if you're a farmer, liberation for farmers. And there's a whole range of subjects that I've talked about. And what we're going to be doing going forward is keep that going. Every Saturday there will be a problem and solution, or a generic webinar which will help you to comprehend what we offer here at the Republic of Old Souls. Now, I understand that there's lots of information out there. There's lots of people talking about different ideas, different ideologies, and you don't have to believe me on what we do and how we do it. But I would like you to first of all get comfortable with what we're offering and how we do it, and then if you are, then just invite other people to come to webinars. And for everyone who comes to a webinar, or maybe they come to more than one, you're going to get £100 reward points in your digital wallet, which you can then set off against the enrollment donation for the Monopoly Game Changer. So in theory, you could actually, in the space of 1 week, if you invited enough people to come to a webinar, that would could potentially finance your entire enrollment into the Monopoly Game Changer program. So that's the opportunity. If you like what you hear and see, and you think that we have got a lot of value to add, and I say we have, and our existing members say we have, then all you do is put it out on social media, invite your friends, family, your co-workers. They attend webinars. Everyone who attends, who stays for at least 70% of the webinar, most people do, by the way, stay right to the end. You're going to get £100 in your digital wallet. So 10 people, £1,000 that you can use to set off against the monopoly game changer.
Okay, so in terms of limitations on this, because I know that there are some, we've often spoken about the bigger vision, haven't we? What does this mean for this cap that we have of 500,000 individuals? What are people going to learn when it comes to the Saturday webinar and their ability to be a part of that Republic of Old Souls nation and the freedom plan of 500,000 envoys in brief?
Well, signature credit recoupment is bank payments, mortgages, loans, credit cards in the main. There are some other things, but they're the main where you put your signature onto a transaction with a clearing bank. It's either to make bank payments, so that's funds leaving your bank account, that is signing up for a mortgage or a credit card or a loan. If you add all those together, that's the face value of your mortgages, your loans, your credit cards, the face value of the bank payments that you've dispatched from your accounts from the age of 18. It probably runs up to, I would say, most people who are, if say you were 45 years of age, you've been playing Monopoly since 18, you've got over 20 years of playing Monopoly, 25 years or thereabouts, you've probably transferred out of your bank accounts and taken up debt, mortgages, loans, credit cards, probably in the millions when you work it out.
Yeah.
So that's what signature credit is. You're recouping that signature credit. What was, all of that economic activity. And if you then say, well, without giving away all the detail, which I'll be doing on Saturday, how do you get that back? Well, it's actually a tax rebate. The banks are paying taxes for the use of your signature credit energy, and that tax is owed back to you. But there's only a certain amount of tax that the banks, and it's the investment banks in New York, are paying every year. So if there was, say, $100 billion of taxes being paid by the investment banks each year, that is our budget, is for signature credit recoupment. We're able to recoup up to 100 billion. Well, when we've done our calculations, and given the fact that what we are all about is driving towards our freedom plan of complete independence with independent, infrastructure of power, water, food, health, communications, travel. We want a community that is operating peacefully, that is operating independently of the cabal's control agenda. And we're aiming at 500,000 to join our community, our nation. And there's about enough signature credit recoupment taxes available each year to recoup. So that's basically it. We're constrained by the number of, or the amount of the taxes that the investment banks are paying. We reckon about 500,000 envoys, envoys of our nation would be about the limit of how much every one of those could recoup year by year from that budget, which is the taxes that are being paid by the investment banks.
Right. So there is a limit on this. There is a time frame in terms of people coming on board with this. And that window at some point in time is going to close. So in terms of call to action, guys, if you are on the shelf, not quite sure about this, if you have been watching our content for any time, if you're already a member here at the Republic of Old Souls, and you know that this would benefit other people, or maybe this is the very first video or content you've ever seen of ours, then I would encourage you, as Ian said, we have our own webinar page. If you go to roswebinars.is, you will see a whole library of our past webinars there on all the different subjects that we've covered. But more importantly, the webinar that's going to be coming up this Saturday, which is for the Monopoly Game Changer. That is this bundle of 3 of our protocols. This is the flagship of what's going to get you from where you're at in this cost of living crisis with this closing window of digital ID and the entire control agenda. This is what is going to free you from that. This is the alternative solution to the solution that the powers that be are going to present to you. So if you want to know more about that, I encourage you to register for the webinar by going to roswebinars.is, register for Saturday. If you know anybody else that would like to do so, then please pass the word out, because this is something that absolutely everybody should be doing. It is simple, it is elegant, it is proven, and we help facilitate the entire process front to back. So Ian, I'm really excited for Saturday's webinar, for people to see this, more excited for people to move forwards with this, especially with the barrier to entry being so very low now. We're really trying to understand the crisis that people find themselves in and provide them with a solution, including the doorway or the entry to that solution too. So I think this really is a game changer. I'm super excited to see it. Any final words before we wrap up the preview today?
Yeah, I mean, my final thoughts are that we've been educating our membership for some years now, and it's quite a difficult task to put all of our information out and get people to comprehend what it all means and how they can use it. And we're on the brink of launching an Ian Clifford avatar. So everything that I know, that I talk about on my webinars, it's in all my research papers, that breaks it. We can break it all down and deliver it through an avatar, an Ian Clifford avatar. You can ask it questions. You can ask it to give you a personalized presentation on anything that we're offering, and it can do it. And then it can send you the proof. So whatever the proof is that you're looking for, it will be able to, once it knows what you want, it will be able to send you that proof, that evidence that you might be looking for, that is going to convince you that whatever it is that we're offering is real, it works, and it's going to work for you. And I'm excited to bring that to the market because I think that knowledge is power. In this area, I've got an enormous amount of knowledge, and I want to share that with you. And the way to do it is, I think the best way to do it is through the avatar, which has got my entire database in it. And I think it's an exciting development.
It absolutely is. There's no reason for people to fail here. There isn't. They can get the knowledge, they can get into the doorway, regardless of their situation, I feel, and they can benefit from this Monopoly Game Changer, this flagship protocol that we're talking about here. So guys, if you want to register, my final thoughts, go to the website, okay, roswebinars.is, register for this Saturday, the 25th of April, 10 a.m. UK time. Ian is going to lay this out in a lot more detail. I think you're going to love it, particularly the fact that this is something that everybody can do. So Ian, thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate you coming on, and I'm looking forward to the webinar on Saturday. If you're watching, have a great day, and we will see you on the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye now.